Welcome back, America. By the way, just another programming note. Tomorrow we have Pierre LaRouche, Gary Risling, Troy Loney, myself, and Bob Grove of the Penguins Radio Network as we talk about the Winter Classic. So we'll have a lot of fun with that. We're going to have to run shifts with those guys. Make sure that you're here for that night. Well, it's always a lot of fun to be joined by the sisters. And, of course, I'm talking about Suzanne on the far left wing, and playing center is Jean Vincent, and they are psychic investigators, and they are so much more. They're a ball of fun as well, if I can say that. We always enjoy them, and we're glad that they're here to wrap up 2010 and point us forward to 2011. Allow me to say that these women are also incredibly gracious with their time for charitable events, and every time they're here we have something different to suggest that they could do. The Beaver Butler County's Heart Ball, February 12th at the Marriott North. They are giving their time for that. So ladies, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ellis.
Thank you, Ellis.
Well, let's start with you, Jean. Give me a prediction for 2011. I want to go back to 10. I want to talk about some of the cases that you're working on. I want to hear about the, what were they called? The
Orbs.
lights. Orbs. Yeah, orbs.
Okay.
Yeah, orb alert. But let's start right. I mean, 2011. Good year, bad year? What, I mean, tell me about it so I can just get to 12.
It'll be a good year in Pittsburgh. Naturally, I was feeling the gas prices are definitely going to hit $4 a gallon.
That's like no doubt.
That's no doubt.
Right.
Also, Pittsburgh weather will be pretty on target, but one or two, snowfalls, but nothing like the Northeast got hit with recently.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pittsburgh economy will be looking up. We'll be looking up as far as science technology. I also found another movie being made here that's going to put Pittsburgh even more on the map and put more money in the economy. So, Pittsburgh, I feel working well and making the economy work. Outside of Pittsburgh, not as well.
Oh no!
A little bit of a struggle there, and
on the economy or anything.
On the economy and on the weather. Out towards the west and the southwest, I was definitely feeling more of a drought picking up, and that would turn up the prices for food, especially in the Nevada area. More of a drought and a little bit of a quake I felt around California, Nevada too.
No, a little bit of a quake out there could be like a big quake. I mean, a little goes a long way out there, Gene. Now, let's get to you, Suzanne. I say it every time you're on. You're looking at a whatever, whose mother would not allow me to go to the 6th grade field trip because Gene Dixon claimed that a mall was going to collapse in America, and she said that meant Beaver County Mall. So she's a big fan of you guys. Now, that having been acknowledged, do you see anything in 11 we need to know about?
The only thing I see is we got to talk about the Steelers.
Oh,
of course.
I can't believe it.
Yes, I really thought about this for you, Ellis.
Right. Oh, thank you so much.
What I was thinking about was for the AFC championships between New England and the Steelers. I really feel that. So I feel they're going to win the Cleveland's game, and then whoever wins those two will go on to the Super Bowl. And of course, I'm giving positive energy. Let it be the Steelers.
Oh, you could feel it. Now, what about 2010? Was it a good year for you in terms of your predictions, Gene? I mean, did you sit down and go, okay, that one worked out, okay, that was a foul ball? Or just generally speaking, tell me a little bit about how 2010 worked out for you.
I thought it worked out well. I did predict the storm that hit like right after we left here. A storm hit in Pittsburgh, and I think we had picked up some inappropriate behavior from people in the Senate, and that did happen as it hit the news and all that. And then some breakups in the celebrity world, that did happen too.
Brittany Murphy, it did turn out that she did die from some sort of a mixture of antibiotics and medicines.
I mean, did you call this?
Oh yeah, we called it last year when we were on
Is that right?
Yes, and
wow.
we talked about the combination. It wouldn't be drug-related, but it'd be prescription drug-related mix, and that's what it was. And also we called about Tiger Woods not going back with his wife and all the other mistresses that were coming out, like 19 or 20. We called that last year.
Wow, so that's before I wrecked this scene here, right? Okay,
yeah.
so in other words, I mean, he was like in the 2 or 3 category, and you guys were going like, nah, this is going to be like 19 or 20 when they gets done.
Oh,
and I got Courtney in my ear saying, absolutely, Ellis, they were saying this.
Yes, and I think there's more to Tiger Woods, which will be coming out soon.
That doesn't sound good.
To do with his, the rest of his, I guess his...
dalliances.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that. Huh?
And then also we had talked about for next year, I think Caylee Marie Anthony's mother will be convicted and get life in prison.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she definitely will. They're talking about the death penalty right now, but I don't think she's going to get that. And then also, you got something else to add, Gene?
Yeah, you look like you're ready to go. What do you got for 11? I mean, look at you. Go ahead.
We're there. That doomsday they're predicting 2012. That's not going to happen.
No.
People are
It's a
like
movie.
all up in arms about that, and I've been asked that. Is that going to really happen? And I'm like, that's just make believe. It's not going to happen. But the Brittany Murphy, yes, we did call that one. At that time, they thought it was suicide, but it was definitely a combination of medications. The same for Heath Ledger, combination of medications. We did call that because that all happened around the beginning of the year. So. A lot's going to be happening positive in the Pittsburgh area for 2011.
Okay, and there's a lot to be built on in 2011, just what we're seeing in the latter stages of 2010. The retail, we've been talking a lot about that in recent days and weeks, and of course all the attention the city is getting right now. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to turn that around, but boy, they've got some great platforms and great celebrations in the next few days that they'll obviously do a lot with going forward. So how about we jump out? I want to hear about some of the current cases the ladies are working on, and for that matter, we'll get caught up in some of the older ones as well. We'll talk orbs, because that's what we do here at Night Talk. Come on back in 2 minutes with the sisters and me on PCNC. Welcome back, everybody. Final window tomorrow night. Lots of 2011 Bridgestone Winter Classic talk. Pierre LaRouche, Troy Loney, Gary Rissling, myself, and Bob Grove. Why don't we jump, by the way, the game is at 1 o'clock on Saturday, still on schedule with coverage at WPXI starting at 11. All right, the sisters, once again, Suzanne and Jean Vincent. Let's talk a little bit less about predictions. We've covered it, or blanketed it. I feel like we can get right to 2012. In the meantime, you're still working on some cases. You're a psychic criminal investigator. Talk about a couple of those. Start with one, and then we'll get to Jean on the other one in a moment.
We're working on the Christine Sheddy case, the girl that went missing out of Pokomoke City, Maryland, and her mother had called us and said her daughter had disappeared over the weekend. Right away, the first phone call, we gave detailed information to her, and a few days later we gave detailed information to law enforcement about who did it and where she'd be found at. And of course, it took people on that end to look for the searches and to follow the leads, and Lynn Dodenhoff did. And she was able to bring her daughter home with our hits and our notes. And one of the young men is going to trial in February, and the other one is going to be going in March. And one's Justin and one's Junior, and we called the names on that too. Our guides had gave us the names too, so it's quite an interesting investigative case for us. And because of our involvement, Jean and I and Lynn, Dateline is interested in an interview. Of course, the leads went through Lynn, so Lynn could follow through with it, but it took her about 2 years to bring her daughter home. And they found her in a bed and breakfast, exactly where we said she would be at, after they had dug her up on the farm. And Jean has something to add to that.
Yeah, and Jean, go right ahead. You got a co-host here. Go right ahead.
With the Christine Sheddy case, we did the initial reading in January of 2008, and it took 2 years for her to be found. And we had many hits. Some of the hits were she would be found at a bed and breakfast. She would be
What
found.
do you mean by hits?
Hits meaning accuracy. When we read what Christine's mother, Lynn, did, I asked her, could you please write back to me what you heard me tell you in the reading? And so I have that paper, and then it takes a year or two for a body to be found if we're lucky enough to have it found. And the hits are, how accurate were we? And the accuracy was, she was found in a bed and breakfast environment. The house, that the frame was, the windows were identical to, as identifier to how to find the location of her. She was found in a sand dirt mix. She was found in a sand dirt mix 2 years later, and the law enforcement clarified that. She was found with the water right outside the backyard with a park bench. The bench was part of the bread and breakfast. Multiple hits. The person who had worked there, and that's initially what had happened, the bed and breakfast was where one of her friends had worked at, but she was initially killed on the farm and moved and put haphazardly into the sand dirt mix. About 50 hits we got on that.
And the big thing is that our guides gave us names. I can't give everyone the name today, but all three of the people will be on trial, and the names were like from January of 2000, from 2 years ago, in the notes that the mother and the police department have.
I will say this, sisters. We have fun when you come on, and we talk a lot about what your predictions are and things of that sort. But when we get to the criminal investigative aspect of this, and this is what you do, it takes a little bit of a different tone, and it takes, quite honestly, a more dramatically serious tone. And I know your backgrounds, and I know that this is something that you do quite a bit of. And while you don't really talk a lot about that, you do, and you work with law enforcement on these matters, and obviously we see that families and law enforcement folks continue to reach out. I can't say it's satisfying, but or is it satisfying to see that these projections and thoughts that you have and feelings that you have turn out to be helpful?
I would say yes, satisfying that they're bringing their child home, they're bringing their sister or their daughter home, but ultimately they're having a funeral. And if it's a gift that we've been given from the angels or the spirit world through spiritualism, then I'm glad I have it.
Right.
And law enforcement, we never contact anybody, they always contact us. So it's a very bittersweet, but you always want to get the person who did it, the bad guy, and you want accountability.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I mean. I can't, again, not satisfying, gratifying at some level to be able to be of value to either law enforcement or the families. And Suzanne, I have to leave now, but do you see any orbs around me? And tell everybody once again in 20 seconds what an orb is.
I'll let Jean likes to talk about
Jean,
orbs.
you're so orbs.
She's an orb girl.
We do paranormal research. We love to do the paranormal activity. I always like to believe maybe there isn't anything like metaphysical out there, but there really is. And orb is an energy. We all have an energy. Curling photography had talked about, we could photograph the orb and the energy around us.
And you've taken photographs.
Oh,
yes.
I know. Okay, do you see any orbs around me?
Yes,
Okay.
actually you have 2 or 3 around.
I got 2 or 3 orbs around me. Oh my God, you guys are the greatest.
Actually, this is one of your grandmother's dead.
Okay, have a great night. I got to talk orbs. You're watching PCNC. How many?